The University of North Alabama has been educating students in the music and entertainment industry since 1975. One of the first programs of its kind in the country, and the first in the state of Alabama. We've got a lot to be proud of as we celebrate the program's 50th anniversary. We want to share some of the alumni and their UNA stories.
It's just like so many other things in life. You can have the background, but nobody's going to come knocking on your door. You got to have somebody that'll help you along, and then once you get the opportunity, you have to get in there and dig and seize it and make it yours. Hi, I'm Kevin Lamb, and this is my UNA story. We didn't even have a commercial music program when I started. And I had this good friend from high school, Joan Carol Butler, that had a songwriting agreement with Wishbone Recording Studio. Wishbone was affiliated with Motown Records at the time, Terry Woodford and Clayton Ivey. She said, my producer is going to teach a class on music publishing this year. It's going to be an easy A. Why don't you take that class? And it was not an easy A, let me tell you. It was not. There was a lot of new concepts in there that I'd never thought about before. But about the third class in, it hit me. I don't have to be a singer or a musician to be in the music business. That's what I want to do. I finished out that semester taking invertebrate zoology and organic chemistry, and then the next semester started in on the commercial music program. I'd made the decision while going through this publishing class at UNA that I wanted to get into the music business. I wanted to change majors from double majoring in biology and chemistry, and I was going to get into commercial music. And the next Monday night that we had class, I went up to Terry and just said during the break and said, "Hey, read where you're building a new studio. I'll come over and help. I'll work for free, painting, stuff and insulation, whatever. I'll work for free. If you need help." And he said, "Yeah, come on over tonight." I mean, my goal was, I want to get the opportunity to prove that they should hire me. Things just sort of fell in my lap after that. Why don't you do this? Or go do this for me. What got real quickly beyond getting coffee and picking people up at the airport. And Terry was the only teacher we had at that time. And so he could only teach one class at a time. There were 3-hour classes that ran on Monday nights from 6 to 9. And he could only do one a week. For whatever reason, he relied on me to teach the classes when he was out of town because there was nobody qualified to teach. He would tell me what we wanted to talk about at the upcoming class. Sometimes he'd give me notes or articles to work from or whatever, and I'd go in and teach the class for him that day. I graduated in December of 78 and came in as an adjunct in January of 79 teaching music publishing. I taught publishing in record companies. Terry taught studio techniques and record production. I did that from 79 till my last semester at UNA was the spring semester of 85. When I left Wishbone, I promised myself I would never work for anybody else again. So I started my own administration company. I spent 6 weeks or more getting on my dad's boat and taking it out to the mouth of Shoals Creek and sitting out there all day, just thinking, just about every day for 6-7 weeks. And one day it was pouring down rain, and McAnally came over. And he said, "So what is it you're going to do?" After we talked a little bit. And I said, "I'm thinking about going back to school, go to law school, and getting a law degree and focus on as a music lawyer. Or I might start my own administration company." And Mac said, "If you'll do that, I'll be your first songwriter." And that's why I stayed in the music business. And so I ended up with Gary Baker next. Mac told Gary what I was doing, and Gary said he wanted to work with me. And Travis Wommack wanted to work with me, but I point to Gary in particular because Gary brought me in this Christmas song that he and Walt had written. He and Walt and Susan Longacre. Not long after that, I heard Alabama was looking for a Christmas song, and by that point, I had a great relationship with the group Alabama. Randy had told me one time, because I had ended up with his home address, and I would mail things directly to his house rather than go through the normal channels, if you will. And he mentioned to me one time, he said, yeah, every time I see that little wishbone up in the corner, I know I need to listen to those songs. I make sure I listen to them. So I had his home phone number, and I called him and said, hey, I've left Wishbone, and I got a great Christmas song I'm sending over to you. Here, you're doing a Christmas album. Just want you to know it won't have the wishbone in the corner, something like that, you know. And boy, a few days later, I got a call back, and he said, so you finally left? And I said, yes, I'm going to start my own company and all that. And he said, well, I've got plans, and you're definitely a part of them. We'll be back in touch. And a couple weeks later, I got a call from his secretary saying there's a band meeting, and Randy wants you to be over here on such and such day at such and such time. And so I knew what they were going to do. I knew they were going to offer me a job. So we went over, and they told me what they were looking for, and I told them I really wasn't interested in going to work for them or anybody else at that point, that I had this administration guy, and I'd be glad to administer their catalog. And it was a pleasant conversation, but Randy ended up walking Linda and I out to the car, and one of the last things he said was, just put in writing what it'd take to hire you and send it over, and let's see how far apart we are. And Linda and I got in the car. Linda said, what are you going to do? And I said, nothing. I don't want to go to work for them. And she said, well, I know you don't, but they've been awfully good to you. If you don't respond, you're going to insult them. So just send something over, send something ridiculous. At least you've responded, and they'll realize they don't want to do it. And I thought, okay, that's pretty good advice. And so I put together a proposal and sent it over. And I got a call a week or so later from Buck Borders, their business manager, and he says, well, Bobby, we ain't going to give you dental insurance, because we give you dental insurance, we got to give it to everybody. And Randy says he ain't paying for no hotel room for you to go to Nashville and look for a house, because you're already going to be in Nashville. And so there you go. We ain't going to do those two things. Other than that, we got a deal. Be back over here. And he gave me a date and time and hung up before I could say I don't want the job. And I spent the next 2 weeks trying to figure out how to get out of it, and couldn't, and decided, okay, I'll go do this for a couple of years. And it ended up being the best experience of my life. You know, I mean, that literally changed my life. As a university teacher, adjunct professor, I've been asked by parents many times, particularly when I was teaching here at UNA. Dr. Simpson would send parents over to Wishbone to talk to me. You know, what kind of guarantee do I have to get a job, for my child to get a job in the music business if they choose to major in that? All you can do at a college is to get the basis of what you need, and then it's up to you after that to make something out of yourself and to prove yourself and to be a legitimate business person. You know, build your own reputation. But that's what UNA did for me. Historically, this program has always had instructors that were tied to the music business some way. In addition to that, in the early years, we brought in the locals. You know, we brought in record company executives in ours. I had Glenn Fry from the Eagles come speak to my publishing class when he was in town. I had other artists too, but I always remember Glenn because I was such an Eagles fan growing up. So it was a particular bright spot to have Glenn come over. I would tell a graduate, if you're asking me to speak to your seniors and all, probably the one word I'd give is learn how to listen. And I don't mean learn how to listen to music. I mean learn how to listen to the creative person you're working with. You know, too many times you get in a conversation and they start saying and you start thinking about it, and you've got your response prepared before they finished what they're saying. And working with creative people, you really have to learn how to listen to them and what their needs are. And it's so easy to get distracted from that. You got to learn how to listen to be successful.